Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks to everybody that joined last week and for all your feedback and requests, advice, all of that. Really appreciate it. So as always, if you have anything to say or any, comments, concerns, just let me know. I did get a request for upper back and shoulders and neck area, so we'll kind of get into that a little bit today. Nothing crazy, but just some feel good stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I was going to mention my email that I'm sending out from now on looks legit, but it's not. I just use this website so that if you guys want to unsubscribe, you have an option now. I just thought it'd be easier to mass send out these emails rather than asking every week if somebody wants to have one. So if you don't want my emails anymore, don't worry about it. Just unsubscribe, you won't get them. So today, you don't need anything other than a mat. I am going to offer the suggestion of a blanket or a towel. I have a blanket here. You can fold it. We'll just fold it now and then deal with it later. But folding it kind of like this, and then we'll just roll it long ways like this. A hot dog roll, so what you call it? Hamburger, hot dog, I think. And then we'll put it to the side for later. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll go ahead and start on our mats in child's pose. So big toes touch, knees spread wide, and then crawling your chest forward in between your legs. Arms out long, bringing your forehead or your chin to the mat, whichever one feels better. And just breathing into your back body here. I always like to start yoga classes with a bit of a slower beginning because it can be really hard to transition from life to yoga without taking that extra time to settle into our bodies and notice where we're at physically and mentally and how we can decompress a little bit better. So you can make this an active pose by crawling your fingertips forward, bringing your forearms and elbows off the ground, and breathing into your shoulders, into your back ribs. Finding deep breaths to really expand through the thoracic cavity. And then crawling your way into a tabletop position just briefly. And we'll keep our hips over our knees as we crawl our hands back forwards into puppy pose. Okay, so it's a nice stretch in our shoulders and upper back, a little bit deeper than a child's pose. You can bring your chin or your forehead or your nose to the mat. But breathing into your upper back. Keeping your lower core engaged. And then crawling your hands back underneath you. We'll just start with some cat-cows. So inhaling, bringing your tailbone to the sky and pulling your chest through. Exhaling, arching your spine into cat pose. Inhaling, leading with the pelvis, pulling your tailbone up behind you. And exhaling, leading with the pelvis, tucking your tailbone and then rolling the rest of your spine with it. A couple more like that. Inhaling into cow. Exhaling into cat. Inhaling into cow. Exhaling cat. And then sitting back onto our shins. We'll clasp our hands in front of us and pull them out as we arch our back. And then inhaling, hands overhead and back behind you as you pull your chest through. Exhaling, arching forwards. Inhaling, reaching up and back. This time cactusing the arms open behind you, retracting the shoulders. And then releasing, bringing your right arm, I'll show you from this view, bringing your right arm to the ground and left arm overhead, reaching your left arm towards the right. So bending into that right arm. Try and engage the core so that you're lifting out of your hips. And that should bring a nice stretch to the whole left side of the body, all the way from the hip to the left fingertips. And then bringing both arms up overhead and switching to the other side, left arm down, right arm reaches up and over, pulling out of the right hip. One more each side, both hands up overhead. Right arm finds the ground, left arm reaches over. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, both arms overhead. Exhale, left arm finds the ground, right arm reaches over. Inhale. And exhale. This time, reaching our hands back behind our feet, we'll press our shins and knees into the ground and lift our hips up. So pushing into the shins and into the fingertips, engaging the glutes to protect the lower back, and then pulling our chest up, pushing our hips forward. Nice easy back bend. Might not be easy, that's okay. And then lowering our tush back to our feet, crawling our hands forward. We'll find downward facing dog. And from here, just pedaling our feet out. Remembering our downward dog position that I mentioned last week, we'll keep our knees bent and really push out of our hands. Like, it's a big extension from the hand to the shoulder. Tucking the neck a little bit so that our back of our spine and our neck is long. And not worrying about our heels touching the ground, just feeling a nice long extension of the spine. From here, we're going to do some roll forwards into plank pose. So keeping that deep bend in the knees. I want you to think about springing off your feet and rolling all the way through to the upper back, to the base of the neck. So springing off our feet, rolling forward into a plank position, keeping the neck tucked until the end. Once you find plank, bending your knees again, tilting your tailbone up to the sky, and gliding back, pushing through your hands to bring your tailbone back up into downward facing dog. And then again, springing off of your feet, rolling through your spine all the way forward into plank position, bending your knees, tilting your tailbone up, back into downward facing dog. A couple more just like that at your own pace. Really working through the spine. Noticing where it might be harder or easier to move through your spine. And bringing your breath into it. This time when you find plank position, let your knees find the ground. Coming back into a tabletop position. Raise your right arm up. And then shoot your right arm out to the left. So behind your left arm, your right hand reaches left and your right shoulder finds the ground. In this pose, think about keeping your hips steady and stable and level. So engaging your core. And then you can stay here, or you can make it a little bit deeper by bringing your left hand on top of your right hand and pulling your your right arm out a little bit further. But remembering to keep your hips in the same position as when you started. Breathing into your upper back and shoulders here. And then left arm comes back underneath you. Right arm plants. And then we'll switch sides. So left arm reaches up to the sky and then shoots out towards the right. Keeping your hips level. Left ear finds the mat, and then maybe bringing your right arm to pull your left hand a little bit further out to the right. Deep breaths. And then rising back up into tabletop position. Bringing your hands one palm length in front of where they are right now, and then scooping your hips up into downward facing dog. From here, we'll just tiptoe forwards into a forward fold. When you find forward fold, bring your feet hips width distance, and then interlace your hands at the base of your head. And kind of let gravity pull your head down. Deep bend in your knees. From here, just rolling up, deep bend in the knees, rolling up vertebra by vertebra. Head comes up last, rolling your shoulders back onto your back body. And a deep breath with your hands by your side here. Okay, from here, nice and simple, we're just gonna, oh, I just realized you can't see my head. Try and fix the camera. Okay, so from here, bringing your right arm overhead and grabbing your left ear. And then pulling your head slowly down towards the right. Not yanking too hard, really letting gravity do most of the work here. You can start from here to swivel your head forwards and backwards a little bit. And find the lines of tension in your neck and where maybe you need to sit a little bit longer and work through with the breath. Taking 3 more deep breaths here. And then switching sides, so head comes back to neutral, left arm reaches over to the right ear and slowly pulls the head to the left. Rolling forwards and backwards until you find that sticky spot, and then staying there for a minute and breathing into it. Right, and then finding neutral again, bringing your arms overhead. And then pulling your hands into a cactus pose, bringing your chest forward and retracting your shoulders to bring a back bend. Staying here for a breath and then exhaling, finding your hands at heart center. You can take a moment here to set an intention. Just kind of finding peace. And we'll do a few sun salutations to warm up our body. So inhaling, arms overhead. Exhaling, bending at the knees and the hips, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, long spine, hands reach to the shins. Exhaling, hands to the ground. Step back into plank pose. and slowly lowering all the way to the ground. Inhaling through baby cobra, so knees and feet on top of the mat, pushing just slightly into the hands for a little back bend. Exhaling into downward facing dog. Inhale here and exhale. Inhaling, stepping forward into forward fold. Exhaling in your forward fold. As you inhale, hands out to the side as you reach up into an upward salute. Exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhaling, arms overhead again, little back bend. And then exhaling into forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands find the ground. Step back to plank. Slowly lower. Inhaling into baby cobra. Pushing back into your downward facing dog. Deep breath in and out. Inhale, tiptoeing back up to the top of the mat. Exhaling in your forward fold. Inhaling, arms out wide and overhead. Exhaling, hands to heart center. One more round just like that. Inhaling, arms overhead. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhale, hands find the mat. Step back to plank. Slow lower to the floor. Inhaling, baby cobra. Exhaling, pushing back. Downward facing dog. As you inhale, tiptoeing forward, back into your forward fold. Inhaling, arms out wide and overhead. And exhale, hands to heart center. Deep breath in. And release. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold one more time. Inhale, halfway lift. This time just step back into downward facing dog. And from here we'll just rise our right leg to the sky, keeping our hips level and our right toes facing down to the ground. We're going to step our right foot forward, but as we do it, I want you to think about propelling again off of your left foot, just like those roll forwards. So bending into your left knee as you bend your right knee into your chest, and then pushing off the left foot to bring the right foot in between our hands. If it doesn't quite get there, just grab it and pull it up. Works just as fine. As you get here, rise into a crescent lunge. So arms overhead. And breathing here for a moment. Then have your hands find your hips and bend into both knees. So trying to find a 90-degree at both of your legs. And find a very neutral pelvis. So no tilting of your tailbone backwards or forwards, just neutral. And then keeping this neutral pelvis, try and kick the left leg straight. It's probably not going to be straight if your pelvis stays neutral, but that's our goal here. Bringing the arms out in front of you, this time rolling our right arm all the way back behind us into this twisted lunge. Staying deep in the legs here, feeling that stretch in the left hip flexor, feeling a bit wobbly on our quads, that's okay, but tall neck here. And then lowering our right arm back to our left thigh, and our left arm overhead, opening up into a little bit of a back bend here. Inhaling and exhaling. Bringing your right arm back up overhead, and then cactusing your arms behind you, interlacing your hands at the base of your spine, And then pulling your arms all the way back and down. We're gonna lean forward, so pushing out of our left foot into this humble warrior variation. So tucking our chin and pulling our arms up and overhead, getting into our upper back here. And then releasing our hands to the ground. Our back knee finds the ground and we push back out of our right leg into half splits. Just releasing from that pose. Bending back into the right leg and pushing our hips forward to find the hip flexor stretch on the left side. One more time, just reaching back into half splits and forward to hip flexors. From here, lifting our left knee off the ground and then stepping forward into chair pose. So hips hit legs or hips width distance. Arms overhead, and then clasp your palms and swing your arms outside of your right leg. Okay, so the outer left arm finds the outer right leg. Looks like this. You can stay here in this twisted chair, or you can open your arms out. You might feel a big stretch in your back. And then releasing. Just rising up, still facing the front of your mat. Arms overhead, finding a little back bend. Cactusing your arms back behind you. And releasing, hands to heart center. Breathing here for a moment. And then inhaling, arms overhead. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhale, hands find the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhaling, left foot, this time rises to the sky, keeping a bend in the right knee, keeping your left toes facing down toward the ground, and then stepping our left foot forward, so pushing off of our right leg, tucking our left knee into our chest, and propelling, bringing that rolling motion through the spine so that our left foot reaches in between our hands. Rising into crescent lunge. And then hands find the hips. Bending into both knees to get that 90-90 again. Really hard. Honestly, I hate this pose, but that's probably why I need to do it more. Keeping your pelvis stable and level. Think about kicking your right leg as straight as you can while keeping your pelvis in this position. And then bringing your arms out in front of you. Pulling your left arm all the way behind you. Right arm still facing forward into this lunge, this twisted lunge. Breathing here, neck tall. Exhaling, bending a little bit deeper into your legs. Twisting a little bit further with your spine. And then left arm finds the right leg. Right arm comes overhead, spinning our chest back forward. Finding a little back bend here. Inhaling and exhale. Inhaling, both arms overhead, cactusing the arms, and then reaching our hands to clasp behind us again, this time the opposite thumb on top. So a weird grip. Pulling our hands back behind us, and then bending at the waist, bringing your torso parallel over your left quad and pulling your arms overhead, pushing off the right toes. And breathing into your upper back here. Releasing your hands to the ground and your back knee to the ground. And then straightening over your left leg into half splits. Breathing here. And then pulling through, chest forward, bending into your left knee, and getting that right hip flexor stretch. Leaning back again into half splits. And forward. rising your right knee off the ground this time, and then stepping forward, feet hips width distance into chair pose, arms overhead. Let the palms touch and then swing your arms outside of your left leg. Finding a prayer position, you can use your hands for leverage to twist even deeper, or maybe you even open your arms up. Breathing here. And then rising all the way up, standing position, arms overhead, little back bend, and exhaling, hands to heart center. Deep breath. Coming back to our intention. Inhaling, arms overhead, and exhaling, forward fold. Just sitting in your forward fold for a minute. Again, you can find that ragdoll variation with your hands at the base of your head, deep bend in the knees. Releasing at the neck and the shoulders. And then finding a halfway lift, hands to the shins, long spine. Exhaling, hands find the ground. Step back to plank pose and slowly lower all the way down. This time bringing our hands back to our hips. Bringing the tops of our feet to touch the ground. We're going to lift our shoulders and our feet off the ground into locust pose. So inhaling to prepare. Exhale. And on your inhale, rising your shoulders, your hands and your feet off the ground. Thinking about pulling your chest through, forwards and up. And imagine there's a string tied to your heels, pulling your heels up, up, up off the ground. Inhaling for just 3 more seconds. 2, 1. And bringing your palms down to the mat and resting your forehead on top of them. Breathing here. We're going to do that one more time. Or you can come with me and try a bow pose. So bending your knees, bringing your hands to find, we're going to spin them so that our palms are facing outwards. And then find the inside of your feet. And from here, we're going to kick our feet up to the space behind us and pull our chest through. So it's a dual action of pulling with your arms on your feet and pulling your feet against your hands. So inhaling to prepare. And on your exhaling, pull your feet up and back behind you, pulling your quads off the ground, activating your glutes, pulling your chest through. Inhaling. Exhaling. One more inhale. And exhale. Release. Bringing your hands out wide, wider than your mat. At about 10 and 2 on a clock. We'll do some oscillating cobras. So inhaling, pushing your legs and your hips into the ground as you rise your chest up and through. Exhaling, rolling your chest back down to the ground. Inhaling, rising up. Exhaling, falling back down. Inhaling, rising up. This time bringing your right shoulder to find the mat, looking towards the left. Inhaling back up to center. Exhaling, your left shoulder finds the mat, looking towards the right. Rising up to center one more time each side. Right shoulder finds the mat. Rising up on the inhale. Exhale, left shoulder finds the mat. And rising back up to center. And lowering back down. As you get back down, find Sphinx pose. So bringing your elbows underneath your shoulders and your hands extended out in front of you. We're going to pull our chest through this space, keeping our hips glued to the ground. Really just think about opening up through the back body, through the upper back, keeping our neck nice and long, so slight tuck of the chin. And using our fingers and our hands to really pull the mat towards us as we push our chest through. You can drop your chin here all the way and do some neck rolls. Feels really nice. When you're ready, we'll release out of that, and this time we're going to cross our arms. So my left arm is going out to the right side of my mat. My left arm is going to cross over, or my right arm is going to cross over my left arm towards the left side of my mat. So my arms are crossed right underneath my chin, and then just slowly kind of lower down into this. And you'll find what feels good on your body. You can release your chin all the way as far as it will go. Release your neck. Feel a pull in the outsides of your shoulders. Just sitting here for a moment. One more inhale. And exhaling. Rising back up and then just switching the arms. This time your right arm reaches out to the left. Left arm crosses over, reaches out towards the right, and then lowering your chin back down over your arms. I'm trying not to block the mic, but you get a good idea of what it's supposed to look like / feel like. And it can feel very different on each side, like most yoga poses. That's okay. It's just a sign that we don't use our bodies symmetrically in life. So that's why we try and do as much symmetricalness, symmetry to our yoga practice to try and balance out all the different things that we do throughout the day. And rising back up. This time, coming back onto your knees. And then just kind of scooching forward. We're going to roll onto our back bodies, over our knees. And rolling down, bringing your heels in close to your butt so you can touch the very ends of your heels. We'll just find one bridge pose. So pushing into your heels, thinking about activating your glutes to pull your hips up to the sky. Inhaling, exhaling, pushing into the floor. Once you find this pose, you're going to scooch your shoulder blades back underneath you and try and clasp your hands underneath your tush. Pushing your forearms, your hands, your shoulders, all of that jazz into the ground. And pushing your heels to turn on your glutes even more, thinking about pulling the mat underneath you with your heels. Long neck. Inhaling. And exhaling, release. Okay, this is where your blanket might come in handy. So if you rolled up your blanket or your towel go ahead and grab that. We'll put it about a quarter, a third of the way down the mat. Long ways. We're just gonna roll our shoulder blades over this. So the way I think about it is it should kind of lie right where the end of your sports bra lies. Guys, if you are taking this, you don't have a sports bra on, just, you get the idea. You basically want it at the top third of your back, and you're gonna roll your shoulders over it, cactusing your arms out to the side. Should feel nice on your upper back. Just breathing here. Letting your body release onto the blanket, release onto the mat. Letting your toes spin out to the sides. Winding down and coming back to your intention. And when I say intention, if you're not familiar with the concept, basically it's just, why did you come to your mat today? Maybe it's physical, maybe it's mental, emotional. It really doesn't matter. But the idea of coming back to your intention is becoming aware of why you do things, like what's your reasoning behind it, and are you staying true to yourself in the moment? And just finding peace in your yoga practice should be sort of outlet for you. So you can stay here and keep your back elevated like this if it feels nice. Or if you're ready to find Shavasana, you can roll back up off of your blanket. And then just slowly roll your spine back down to the ground. Bringing your arms out to your sides, rolling your feet out, and releasing your body all the way to the ground, keeping your shoulder blades rolled underneath your back. Inhaling and exhaling, releasing. So again, I'll just leave you guys here today. You can stay as long as you'd like. Hopefully that felt good. And as always, let me know if you have any requests for future classes. Namaste.